Okay, so I really wanted to do this session because it just makes such a big difference. It's like, how many people can I show who make so much money and still don't have any money? And there are people around who make very little money and still have a lot of money around. And at the same time, it's almost like money, most people just have a really bad relationship with money. Okay, just such a bad relationship. Okay, it has very little to do with how much money you make and how much wealth you will create at the back of that, but a lot to do with how you manage money. Okay, and I'm going to share a story with you so you can see where I'm coming from with this. It's almost like I'm sharing my personal experience with you. Okay, I literally came with £300 in my pocket. This is Feb 2000. Okay, and I remember first day I went out to ask for jobs. Back in the days, no one had mobile, so they asked me for a phone. I didn't have a phone number, so I said, I'll just come back and ask you again. I left my name. I went back the next day. I found myself a job. Within 6 months, I'd saved myself £3,000. Okay, now this is 2000. £3,000 is a lot of money. And I was only making bare minimum wage. Okay, I remember there were days when I would, by the time I'd paid for the bus fare and for the food and everything, I was only left with about £20 a day. Okay, but I still managed to save about £3,000 in 6 months' time. Okay, now I was still naive. So instead of trying to put that money into an account and save it for myself, I ended up sending it off to my family. Okay, so that's my naivety, even though my family didn't need the money. But I managed to save that money purely because I looked at it and I said, okay, I'm making X amount of money, and how much do I need to spend to be able to save X amount of money? Now, a lot of people say, you know what, if I'm only making, £300 a week or whatever, how am I supposed to save money? It's strange when you actually want to, you're convinced that you want to save money, that you will. Okay, you'll find ways, you'll find deals, you'll find all sorts of things. In fact, I was actually shared a video this morning with my marketing team, and they're going to share it with everyone, that, when you see luxury cars and luxury houses, that's actually not wealth. That's not wealth. That's minus wealth. Remember, to buy a luxury car, you have to take money out from your pocket and buy it, which means you actually go in minus. And to be able to buy a luxury house, you have to pull out money from your pocket to be able to buy it. Now, I know you might turn up and say, well, only people who have money are the ones who buy it. That's not necessarily the case. If you look at the debt levels in the country, in fact, in the whole of the Western world, it's like surprisingly high. Most people live on debt. If I was to ask, I mean, I'm not going to name, but so if I was to ask, this is a question you need to ask yourself, is how much equity do you have in your world? Okay, and how much debt do you have? That's very, very important question. That will show you the ratio of the debt and equity that you're living in. Most people are under debts and that they are in minus, even though they are 30s and 40s and 50s, and I know people in their 60s in minus. Okay, that's because they have not made the basic judgment of, I'm making, let's say, 100, and that I'm only allowed to spend 50, 60, 70 to the max, that I'm supposed to be saving that money, and at the back of that, investing in the right vehicle, which in this case, we're talking about property. I remember this, and again, there's a reason I'm sharing this story with you, so you can all see, and I'm very, very sensible with my money. Where I spend my money, I literally still go to very expensive restaurants. I still buy very decent clothes. I still drive a very decent car. But at the same time, I'm still very, very sensible with my money. I go and buy a car. I check the cars for like a day before I go and buy a car, because it's a large purchase and I could easily save myself a few thousand. Okay, I'm buying a property. I do lots and lots of research. Raise your hand who knows here that I bought a £45,000 below market value property. Raise your hand if you know that. Okay, so last property that I bought freehold was £45,000 discounted from the market value. Okay. Now, raise your hand if you think that is 45,000 plus equity in my life just from a single transaction. Raise your hand if you understand basics of this. Yeah. So I made myself £45,000 just for the single transaction. Okay. Some of the other properties that we are agreeing right in the middle of, they are slightly below market value, which means the day we sign is the day we add value into the business. Okay. So understanding all these things, I remember I bought my first property in 2003. Now imagine coming into the country as an immigrant and buying a property, not even three, but literally, yeah, about 3.5 years later. Okay. So I was able to send money to my parents because I didn't know what to do with the money, and still save enough money to buy myself a property. Okay. I need you all to focus on not just how much money you make, but how much you are able to save and then invest that money. You don't want to be in a position where you look in your account, you don't have 3 months money. Most people don't. Most people don't have 3 months money in their account to survive. 3 months. That is a surprisingly high number. And if you are in that range, you really need to spend more time in solitude, reflect, and start to live a bit more sensible life. I'm not here to guide, say, save money, all of that. All I'm saying is you need money to make money. Okay. Anyone who tells you that you don't need money to make money is bullshitting. Okay. Even the basics of the business ideas requires money. Okay. You ask an IT guy to make your website, right? Either he's going to charge you money or he's going to ask you for equity in your business. What do you want to give away? Money or equity? Okay. If you don't have money, you'll have no choice but to give equity. Okay. So just be aware that spending money sensibly sits still at the core of building wealth, nothing else. Okay. And not just saving money, but then saving that money and investing in the right vehicle that will eventually grow into something else. Literally, the property that I bought in 2003, I bought that property for $56,500. I sold that property for $138,000 only a few months ago. Okay, that is a profit of not a massive profit throughout the 17 years or 18 years that you're looking at, but it's still a decent profit because I only spent about 11 and a half grand, maybe if I can remember correctly, to purchase that property. Okay, so if I spent 11 and a half grand and I still made money as a regular recurring income on that property, I'm not going to count that. But even if I spent 11 and a half grand on that property and I made roughly about 80 grand on that property, how many fold profit is that? Falakid, do you want to do that?
Sorry, Jack, I missed that. I'm driving.
Okay. So if I spent, let's say 12 grand to buy a property,
yeah,
and I made myself 80 grand at the back of that, how many fold profit is that?
Oh, that's at least 12 divided by 7.
7.5,
6,
maybe?
7, 6, 7, yeah.
7.5, maybe, yeah. Yeah, 6.5, something like that, yes. Okay. That 6.5 means 650% profit on the initial money invested. Okay. Over a period of 18 or 19 years. Okay. That is about 30% plus profit in capital growth. Okay. And at the same time, obviously, like I said, I'm not counting the recurring income that I made, which would probably take it to about 45 or 50% return on money invested. Okay. That would have not happened if I had not saved that £12,000. Now, £12,000 isn't a lot of money, but back in 2003, it still was quite a decent amount of money. Okay. But like I said, I would have not made that 80 grand profit if I had not saved that 12,000 initially to be able to buy myself a property in the first place. Okay. Now, if I was to fast forward it to today, okay, that same money that I invested back in the days, which I sold the property, has been taken and invested into hotels. Okay. Like I said, I'm not going to go through everything in the middle of it. Okay. But the same money has been invested into hotels now. Okay. Now these hotels are making about 25, 30,000 a year, each of them. Okay. And that's, let's say, 60 grand a year on each of these hotels. Okay. Without necessarily me doing a lot of work for it. Do you think that's good return on my investment? This is what you call compounding growth of very, very little money, which most people ignore. It's almost like you walk into some, for example, you walk into a BP garage these days and you buy petrol, and then when you're paying, they say 25p charity. Okay. Now, how many people actually think about the 25p? Raise your hand. Most people don't. Most people don't. Okay. Now, I'm not saying don't do charity. What I'm saying is that 25p accumulated over, it is statistically proven, every pound that you save and invest becomes 20 pounds by the time you retire. So the next time you're about to go and do shopping and you see a very nice t-shirt up for grabs for, let's say, 50% discount, and you get, it's normal price 40 pound, you're getting it for 20 pound. It's not 50% that you're saving, the 20 pound that you're going to save. It's not the 20% you say, oh, sorry, the 20 pound you're saving. What you're doing is you're spending 20 pound, which times 20 is 400 pound out of your pocket when you retire. Raise your hand if you can see through this, please. I just need everyone to be able to see through this. Raise your hand if you can see through this, please. Okay. So the next time you see a 50% discount or something, it's not 50% discount, it's times 20 of what you are paying out of your retirement pocket. Okay. I know it's a very boring subject. Okay. But guess what? How many people do I get messages of when they say, I just don't have the money to buy this property, to buy your mentoring, or to be able to invest, or whatever it is. And that when you look at them, think, why do you not have 10,000 pound or 20,000 pound or 50,000 pounds sitting around when that could be the money to help you grab an amazing property deal or an amazing asset deal? It could be any asset deal. Why do you not have that kind of money? Why? It's a question you need to ask yourself. Okay, I'm not saying it's you specifically, anyone here. I'm saying those who are watching this, most people, unfortunately, are in that position. Okay. So the next time when you're spending that pound, 10 pound, 20 pound, or 100 pound somewhere, think, are you actually making that money a few fold over to be able to afford that? Okay. When I walk into a restaurant and I pay £100 bill, I have probably on that specific day made a few thousand. That's exactly, I would walk into a restaurant and say, okay, you know what, this is time to experience that money. Okay. But if I have a quieter month, I just wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. Not because I can't afford to, I still can afford to because I've made my money. But at the same time, you got to look at your account and say, do I have 6 months savings ready if there was an emergency? Do I have 20, 30, 50 grand sitting around in my account if an opportunity comes on my door that I'm prepared and ready to take it? Okay, a question you all need to ask yourself. Coming forward, investing into properties. Let's say a property comes to you or you come across something that is 20% discounted. I have shown many of you here, and they're all in the pre-recorded trainings as well, how you can go and find below market value properties. In many cases, anywhere between 10 to 25%, very, very easy to find. You can take those opportunities when you have money sitting in your account. Okay, raise your hand if you know that if you walk in with a vendor who's selling his property, that if you are a cash buyer, that you can negotiate harder. Raise your hand if you know that. Okay, if you're a cash buyer, you can actually negotiate a lot harder. Okay, But all this tends to only happen when you actually are ready to save money. Taking you back to my journey of 2000 till 2003, I remember not even 2003, but 2002, in about 2 years' time, so from 2000 to 2001, at the initial period of the first part of the 2002, I remember I saved myself £12,000. And in 2003, I ended up buying a property with that money, okay? Even though, like I said, I was sending some of that money to my father who never needed that money, but I just didn't know what to do with that money back in the days, back in that age, okay? But now I do. So invest into property, invest into something that actually helps you grow your money massively. I mean, I bought a property in 2014 for 178,000. Now that property is worth £300,000. Raise your hand if you can see some real equity growth there. Okay, I bought another one in 2017. No, sorry, my apology, 2019. And that I paid 285 for, and I spent another 80 grand, that's 365. And that property is worth now £500,000. Raise your hand if you can see some real growth there. I bought another property, I remember in 2007, which I bought for 100,000, I think 100,500. I sold that property in 2018, I think it was. I sold it for 128,000. Okay, why am I sharing these stories with you? It only started to happen when I was saving that money and investing into properties. Okay, it only happens then. I took some of that money from equity and I remortgaged my house and I started building some of my businesses at the back of that. The chauffeuring business that we sold in 2014 was built at the back of remortgaging one of these properties where I pulled out 25,000 and I went on to build that business to a team of 47 people, okay? And sold for undisclosed amount. And this was 2014. I sold a part of that business in 2016. I built all the PEN on the back of that money that I made from selling those businesses, okay? So I need you to be able to see how this compounding has happened only because I initially saved myself that £12,000, okay? And then I built a business at the back of that, and I remortgaged another house, and I bought another house, and then I remortgaged once again, and I built a business at the back of that, and I built a business at the back of that, and I kept selling. So I sold that business, and then I kept another business at the back of that. It's all compounding growth that has happened for the last 20 plus years. Raise your hand if you have any questions, because I need you to understand the gist of this, that look, everything happens when you have an when you are emotionally ready and kind of have clarity on how even saving those few hundreds of pounds that you can do daily can lead to thousands and hundreds of thousands and eventually millions, okay? Raise your hand if those who know that PEN has been valued in millions already, okay? And that's only happened, like I said, just because I was focused and I wanted to make sure that I build my wealth, even if it's a slow growth. I'm pretty sure you have heard the story of the hare and the tortoise, right? That is how you build your wealth. That's how you create equity in your property, equity in your business. That is how it's built, okay? Literally saving pennies. I remember literally the first a month or so in the country where I didn't want to even buy a bus ticket. This is me being very naive, I won't do that now. But not even buying a ticket, but maybe walking like a mile down, just so I don't have to spend the money on a bus ticket, okay? Now I think that was stupid because the value lies in your time investment and not the money. Money comes later. It's your time that is the most valuable now, okay? Do you have any questions? I can see Fortune top of the list.
No, I don't have any questions.
Okay. Falaki, any questions?
No, I'm good, thanks, Jack.
Anyone else has any questions? Otherwise, we can finish this session and jump on to the second one. Okay. We're gonna do the next one.